In September of 2019, a night shift records technician at the Linden Sleep Research Center in rural Pennsylvania discovered something in the patient files that shouldn't have been possible. A discharge summary. Signed. Stamped. Complete. For a patient who was still admitted to the facility. The date on the form was November 3rd. November 3rd was still 2 weeks away. And the patient was still in room 7. The technician's name was Elena Vasquez. And there's a reason room 7 has no mirrors. Elena worked the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. She believed she'd been there 3 months. Most nights, she was alone, except for Dr. Nathan Webb, who passed through on occasional rounds. Her responsibilities were routine, data entry, file organization, maintenance of physical records that mirrored the digital system. Quiet work. Predictable. The file appeared during a routine alphabetization. It was thicker than most, marked with a faded yellow tab indicating long-term residency. The patient's first name had been blacked out, standard protocol for certain studies. The surname remained. Vasquez. Elena paused. Then moved on. Vasquez is a common name. The file didn't stay put. It appeared on her desk when she arrived. In stacks she had already sorted. Once, inside her bag, though she had no memory of placing it there. Eventually, she opened it. The patient in room 7 had been admitted 6 months earlier after what intake described as a dissociative break with occupational delusion. The symptoms were precise. The patient believed, completely, that they were employed at places where they had no affiliation. They would arrive, begin working, and become distressed when challenged. The sleep study was secondary. Behavior was the focus. Elena found the case academically interesting. She continued working. The sleep data made no sense. REM cycles lasting hours. Brainwave activity consistent with wakefulness during recorded sleep. She mentioned this to Dr. Webb during one of his rounds. He smiled. The equipment in room 7 has always been unreliable, he said. We've filed reports. She asked if she could see the equipment. He told her the room was restricted. She asked why a records technician was assigned to a research wing at all. Dr. Webb hesitated. Then said, "Why don't we sit down and talk about that?" She declined. She had work to finish. A week later, Elena noticed handwriting in the margins of the file. Small notes. Observations. Times. Patient calm. Working steadily. Patient asked about discharge. Became agitated. Patient does not recognize own name when spoken aloud. The handwriting was hers. She didn't remember writing any of it. The building began to feel wrong. The hallway to the break room felt shorter. The supply closet she used every night was suddenly on the opposite wall. The records room had no windows. But she remembered watching the sunrise from her desk. She said nothing. On October 29th, Elena tried the door to room 7. It was locked from the outside. Through the reinforced window, she saw a simple room. A bed. A desk. A lamp. On the desk sat a white coffee mug with a chipped handle. Her mug. She had bought it at a gas station 3 years earlier. An hour ago, it had been on her desk. She returned to the records room. The mug was gone. The intake form listed no emergency contacts. The patient had been found working in the administrative wing of a hospital 40 miles away, organizing files for 3 days before anyone noticed they didn't belong there. Before that, a law office. Before that, a school. Before that, a real estate agency closed for over a year. In every case, the patient had let themselves in with a key that fit no lock investigators could identify. When confronted, the response was always the same. Confusion. Fear. Then calm. I'm new, the patient would say. I'm still learning the system. Something cold settled in Elena's chest. She looked at her hands. At the files. At the room she believed she worked in. She opened the supply closet. It was empty. It had always been empty. But the inside of the door was scratched. Dr. Webb found her sitting on the floor outside room 7 at 4:16 a.m. He sat beside her. They stayed quiet for a long time. Finally, Elena asked, "How long have I been here?" 6 months, he said. She nodded. Am I the records technician? No. Her throat tightened, but she didn't speak. Is the discharge date real? She asked. Yes, he said. November 3rd. You've been stable for 30 days. She asked what happened after. He said there was a halfway house. A caseworker. A plan. She asked if she would remember. He didn't answer. Elena Vasquez was discharged on November 3, 2019, at 9 a.m. Her exit interview noted she was calm and cooperative. She signed the paperwork with steady hands. She took a bus to the halfway house. She stayed 4 days. On November 8, she was reported missing. 16 days later, a security guard at a closed department store in Harrisburg triggered a silent alarm. The building had been abandoned for 2 years. Inside, he found a woman sitting at a desk in the back office. There were no files. She was carefully sorting blank paper into neat stacks. She looked up and smiled. I'm new, she said. I'm still learning the system. She asked when the others would arrive. The Room 7 file was archived in December of 2019. It remains in storage, alphabetized under V. Inside is a final note, written in handwriting that matches no staff member. I keep finding myself in the wrong building. But the work is always the same. I think I'm supposed to be here. I think I've always been here. The date is blank. She's still looking for a place where she belongs.